Carolina Insider is presented by Wells Fargo, official sponsor of Carolina Athletics.
We're back. Time for another edition of the Carolina Insider. Jones and Adam here with you. The show brought to you by our friends at Wells Fargo. A little bit different this week. We've had to piece the show together a bit this week with the basketball game late on Wednesday night, the victory over Wake Forest. We're going to talk about that. We are going to have Tar Heel AD Bubba Cunningham is going to join us, talk about a busy spring semester coming up. Then Adam and I are going to be back at the desk going through the social drive. We're going to have 3 different sets during the show, and it's going to be awesome. And Adam, the number one reason it's going to be awesome is the Tar Heels beat Wake Forest on Wednesday night in the Smith Center, 80-73, the final score. A must-have, it felt like, for Carolina, and the Tar Heels went and did it.
I like this set. I can get out and run, kind of like the Tar Heel defense, creating easy baskets for the Tar Heel offense.
Nice.
Carolina got 12 steals against the Deacs. That's a season high. Got it from a variety up and down the roster. Got scoring from up and down the roster. Caleb Love had a great game. Armando Bacot, just old steady Armando, continuing to do it with his 18 points. So that was a game Carolina had to win, and they did.
I thought, in addition, and look, Caleb Love had 20 points. Armando Bacot, as Adam said, 18. He also had 6 rebounds. I thought Leaky Black was important for Carolina in this game, too, just kind of doing Leaky Black stuff. He had 8 points, efficient shooting. He was 3 for 5, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, which was a season high, and his defense in the second half was important for Carolina. It
was interesting to watch Carolina move Leaky Black around defensively to put him on whoever they felt like was the hottest. They used him to stop Williamson, then they moved him over to Musius, who was unconscious from 3, and it's nice to have a player like that, and you could tell his size definitely bothered Williamson, and Carolina's going to face other good guards who are even better than the Wake point guard, and they're going to need Leaky Black to be able to defend them similarly.
So Carolina's now won 4 of its last 5. Tar Heels scheduled to face NC State Saturday at 2 o'clock. Radio-wise, we'd be on the air at 1 o'clock for that one. Heels now 9-5 overall, 4-3 in conference play. Another Tar Heel who finished in double figures in this game, which makes it 3 consecutive games in double figures for RJ Davis. And in fact, his output against Syracuse and Florida State last week had him named as the ACC Freshman of the Week. And Adam, RJ was not the headliner from this win over Syracuse, or excuse me, the win over Wake Forest, but he's continuing to make a little bounce back here after a little bit of a lull during his freshman season.
I think the thing that continues to be impressive about him is RJ Davis is not scared of anything. There was a sequence in the first half against Wake Forest, the shot clock's winding down, the ball kind of finds RJ Davis, and no problem. He's going to pull up and take a long 2-point jumper. He made it. That felt like it stopped some Wake momentum because the Deacs were starting to feel good about their defense. Then he sort of put a hole in the balloon by making that jumper. He's willing to take those types of shots, and he knows how to get the ball to the basket if the opportunity presents itself. Going to be a player for the Tar Heels. He's a player right now. Going to be an even better player in the years to come.
So again, Carolina's next action will be Saturday at 2 o'clock against NC State. Again, we'd be on the air radio-wise for that one at 1 p.m. Let's head over to the women's side of things, Adam. And it's been a weird. I mean, it's been a weird season for everybody in all sports. I feel like women's basketball may be affected more than any other sport in the ACC. The women had started really playing well, had won 3 in a row, and then all of a sudden had a big break due to COVID, both with some problems within the Tar Heel program and some opposition. And since they've come back, they've just had a tough time getting things going again. They had a late lead against Syracuse here in the midweek this past week against a ranked Syracuse team. Couldn't quite hold on for the win. Courtney Banghart, who we both know is a fantastic coach, continuing to stay positive with this team. It feels like if they could get in a little bit of a rhythm here, that this young group could have a pretty good year.
Had the lead through 3 quarters against Syracuse, a team they had already beaten earlier this year. There's some young talent there. We've talked about it a lot. To Jones's point about just the oddness of the season, Carolina's now scheduled a 3rd game against Virginia Tech. Normally you wouldn't play a conference opponent 3 times, but they've now put that on the schedule because Duke and Virginia have both ended their women's basketball season. So just a lot of keep your head on a swivel if you're trying to keep up with the women's basketball schedule. But you feel like Courtney Banghart going to get that group smoothed out a little bit when they can get some consistency.
Next up for the Tar Heels in women's basketball, they're at home this weekend, Sunday, against Notre Dame. All right. As you're going to hear when we talk to Bubba here in a minute, a whole boatload of sports are either just now getting underway or will be getting underway in the coming weeks here around Carolina, and that includes some that have already gotten going here, Adam, like Carolina wrestling. They've had a couple of matches that they've had scheduled, thought they were going to get going, but then at the last minute ended up being postponed. They've had 2 matches postponed, have had 1 match in which they won against Appalachian State. Tar Heels are number 14 in the country. They'll be taking on Duke on Friday. Coleman Scott, we've talked to him before on the audio version of the podcast. Really good young coach and has that program on the rise.
Feels good about this team. Yet another top 15 team for Carolina here in the late winter, early spring.
Let's go to men's golf. They opened their season. Wish I could. Why can't I open my golf season? The men's golf team did at the Seminole Invitational. That included a great start for a talented freshman for the Tar Heels, Peter Fountain. He's out of Raleigh, North Carolina. He finished 2nd as an individual. The Tar Heels finished 5th in total in the field, and always exciting. That's another program that feels like it's really gotten a lot of momentum here recently. Andrew DiBattista, young head coach for Carolina men's golf, another program on the rise, it feels like.
Jones, I'll take you out to the putt-putt course anytime you want to go. I know you want to get the season started. We'll go out and do that, hit it right in the clown's mouth.
All right, let's go now to tennis. Carolina kind of quietly one of the best schools in the country for tennis, period. The men are ranked number 2 in the nation. The women are ranked number 1 in the country. They are both hosting ITA season kickoffs this weekend. The winners of those will advance to the ITA Indoor Championships. That event, both the men and women have won in recent years. The women have won it a bunch here as of late. And Adam, I mean, national champion contenders, both the men and the women.
And always look forward to the ITA Indoors because, as Jones said, Carolina owns that event. Love getting the season started off on the right foot there. Both those teams, I think, can legitimately say they expect to be among the final couple teams standing for national titles. And
finally, swimming and diving underway for the Tar Heels. The swimming team will be hosting Virginia and South Carolina this upcoming weekend. Have already had a couple of meets. They won 5 events and 2 meets last week and had the ACC Diver of the Week. Aranza Vasquez, a freshman, named the ACC Diver of the Week. So, Adam, a lot of success across the board for the Tar Heels, and excited to get a bunch of stuff going here in Chapel Hill.
A lot of success from young student athletes having success. And keep in mind, this is only the tip of the iceberg for the level of competition you're going to see and quantity of competition you're going to see in the weeks to come, because a lot more teams getting going here in the next couple of weeks.
We should talk about that with Bubba Cunningham. What do you think?
Let's do that. Let's move the chairs before we do that.
We're going to clear out this. We're going to bring in 3 handsome chairs and 3 handsome gentlemen. We're going to talk to Bubba Cunningham, the athletic director, here on the Carolina Insider.
It's been a couple weeks at least since our third co-host, Bubba Cunningham, has been here on the Carolina Insider. We missed him, and we wanted to get him back in here to catch up. It's getting ready to be a very busy spring semester at Carolina. So, Bubba, thanks so much for coming by. What in the world is happening in Carolina athletics right now?
Well, it's great to be with you, and I've missed you guys. It's been a couple of weeks since I've been here with you. Everything's happening. We have all of our teams back. School started this week. We had our opening meeting yesterday. So Kevin was on and he spoke. We tried to go through the agenda that we have for the department, what's going on at the university, and what's going on nationally. Yeah. And, you know, sports is a big part of that for us. And it's great to have our kids back. Great to see them practicing. It's been a real challenge. And Mario Sioka, our entire medical staff, has been fantastic in getting these kids back, testing them, making sure that they can be safe. And if they don't want to play and they don't feel safe, then they can opt out. And so that's really been a comfort that they have choices.
Bubba, what did Carolina learn from going through the fall that maybe will help you now be better prepared to attack this very busy spring?
Well, I think that's a great question, because what we did learn is you have to social distance. You have to wear the mask. And those fundamental things that we made some mistakes early. Our kids came back and we were probably a little bit loose. We had to pause things. We had to shut things down for a while. But what I think that showed us is that if you do it properly, you can get over the hump. And you saw that. We played 11 football games, and then we played the bowl game. So that worked out exceptionally well. Some of our other teams stumbled a little bit out of the gate, then they came back. So the soccers, the lacrosses, the volleyballs all got to play an awful lot. So now I think we learned that, and I think we learned it from a student standpoint as well. And now the testing that all the students are having to do before they come back. In fact, we had over 80 students test positive at home and didn't come back. And so that really will slow the spread of the rest of the campus community. So those weren't student athletes, by the way, because our students are back, they all get tested, they all have to quarantine themselves, and they all have to be medically cleared before they start to participate. And the trainers and Dr. Sioka are doing that. So I think that's probably the greatest lesson, is that you have to take it very, very seriously and just do the small things and do them well.
Carolina's very proud of its broad-based program, deservedly so. Never before have almost every sport in that broad-based program competed at the same time. What are some of the challenges, facility and personnel, and just from an athletic director standpoint that you're having to face as every sport except football, I think, is slated to compete in the next few months?
Yeah, it's just probably that they're all together, and so all the testing. But the great thing about it is the university set up their own lab. Our trainers know how to do the testing. They're teaching the students how to do it, all the general student body as well as the student athletes. So they actually do the self-administered test, they put it in the baggie, they send it off to the lab here on campus, and we get a result very, very quickly. So that's a godsend to us, the number of tests that we're gonna have to do. The facilities people are pulling their hair out. It is a lot of events. I say we have about 200 events a year. I think we'll probably have about 150 this spring. You guys are broadcasting these games, the social media group, everybody's trying to produce games. We have a lot of events that we want to get out. It's going to be a wild semester, but when you think about why you do things, it's because we want to create those experiences for students. They're getting a great education, and they're going to be able to compete. We are fortunate our facilities are done, and so we have a lot of space for kids to practice. If it rains, I'm going to go home, because all 27 teams are going to go to the indoor facility, and somebody's going to have to decide, so I'm not doing that.
They'll be calling Bubba. I'm going to let that go to voicemail. Bubba, we want to look forward here, but I do want to ask you about one thing that happened in the fall, and that was football's terrific season and their berth in the Orange Bowl. I'd be interested in your thoughts on the impact of them achieving that goal and what they were able to do this season.
How about that?
Yep.
I mean, 2 years. And I was very excited, obviously, when Matt got hired and came and said, here's a guy that knows Carolina, he knows all the people here, he's a great recruiter, we're going to get this thing turned around. And you think, that's going to be 3, 4, 5 years, we'll be right there. 2 years, and we're winning 8 games, going to the Orange Bowl. Did not see that coming. His ability to recruit, his ability to connect is something I completely underestimated. So really happy for them. And at times I thought, boy, this is great. We're playing these games, we're winning games, and we had 25 fans at the first game. And then I think our second game, we went on the road to Boston College, we had 0. Yeah. And then we came back, and eventually we got to 3,500. I thought, well, that's 3,500 really felt like a lot of people when you didn't have any. And then I started thinking, then I felt sorry for myself and sorry for the team, and said, that means we've got, 46,500 that couldn't come. But you had to start thinking about, the reason we're doing this is so the kids can play. Put all that effort in so they can play. So as much as I wanted everybody to see it, I'm glad we were able to broadcast it, glad we have the ACC network, glad we have this facility that we can broadcast so many other games about. But it was really a great year, and I'm really pleased with our coaches and pleased with the way they communicated. And as I think I told you guys probably too many times, but when all of the spring events got shut down and our track coach wrote his letter to the track team and talked about grit and resiliency, they demonstrated it all semester. And that's really pleasing to see, and I can't wait for this semester to get going.
You touched on fans at football. It was announced this week there won't be fans at spring sports other than close family members, 2 per student athlete. What went into that decision to limit things for the spring?
Well, we're obviously right now in the worst we've ever had in North Carolina. And we're certainly trying to be as accommodating as we can. The number one priority is the parents of the student athletes. We would love to have fans come to games. But a number of our sports, at least in the next couple of weeks and months, are going to be indoors. And it really doesn't make sense. The thing that we want to prioritize is their participation, their opportunity to play. And it was a difficult decision, something that we spent a lot of time thinking about, but it just doesn't make sense to us. And so rather, what we have all lived in the last few months is ambiguity. And at least now it's clear. This is who can come, this is who can't. It's unfortunate, but we're going to really turn our efforts from now to next fall and say that really, we hope with the vaccinations, we hope with the therapeutics, we hope with the testing, that by this summer, things will really be different. And so we're going to really concentrate on selling tickets for the fall, get people back for next year.
But before we let you go, you're part of the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee this year. Tell us what you talk about the Tar Heels. What's that experience been like for you so far?
We've kind of kept that under wraps for most of the time. It's been really interesting. Obviously, last year the committee was right on the doorstep of announcing a bracket and having a tournament, and the whole thing got canceled. So this year the committee has to take a look at what can we possibly do to host a tournament. And Danny Gavitt's been absolutely terrific. Joanne Scott, a couple of the staff members with the NCAA provide us incredible amount of information. While we are the selection committee, they run a lot of the details through the committee to make sure that the dates, the location, all of the logistics associated with it are something that we all agree as a membership group is appropriate for our schools to play in. And so it's been fascinating to learn. I am assigned a couple of conferences that I'm the primary person to speak on behalf of the league. I'm the secondary and some others. And so that's been really interesting as well. So trying to watch games, trying to learn about the different players in the leagues, trying to learn about what their protocols are from a medical standpoint. And then, okay, logistically, what's it going to take at the end of the season? You've got conference tournaments, then you got to get everybody to Indianapolis. 68 teams coming to Indianapolis over a short period of time trying to play this tournament. It's very impactful and meaningful for the membership, and it's a great tournament, and I know people want to be in it, and students really want to play. So we're going to do everything we can to make it safe, and we're following all the re-socialization standards that the NCAA has.
Well, just 2 months away until that NCAA basketball tournament coming up, as Bubba said, in the Indianapolis area. Bubba, good to have the trio back together again here on the Carolina Insider. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, you guys are much better as a duo, but I appreciate being the third wheel every once in a while.
We appreciate Bubba Cunningham's time and joining us here on the show. And as always, our interviews brought to you by Coca-Cola. Coke tastes better together. And together, Adam and I will take you into the social drive. Let's take a look around social media and catch up with some relevant Tar Heel topics. And Adam, that starts with move-in day for the Tar Heel football team. Early enrollees, that is 12 members of the 2021 class, making their way to Chapel Hill.
It's funny how social media can make something that is extremely not fun seem like it actually is fun.
Yeah.
Like if you've ever moved anyone into college or really moved in anywhere, you know that it's absolutely miserable. But to look at it on Instagram, those fellas had a great time lugging around those heavy boxes. That's why you want to bring a whole football team with you when you go to move in.
There are a lot of like peace signs thrown at the cameras, like move-in day. All right, So glad those guys are on campus. And in all seriousness, it will be a big benefit to them and to Tar Heel football to have those guys available for the spring.
Remember when it used to be unusual that someone would enroll in January, and now you've got almost the entire class that'll be able to go through spring practice and be in strength and conditioning and ready for the summer and the fall.
Sticking with Carolina football, Adam, former Tar Heel offensive lineman Arthur Smith all the way up to head coach. We've been talking about Arthur a couple of times here over the last several weeks, the great work that he's done with the Tennessee Titans, and after 10 years on that Titans staff, including the last few as the offensive coordinator, makes his way to be the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons.
And as we mentioned here, looks like he had his pick of head coaching jobs, a lot of open positions. Arthur chose the Falcons. Certainly wish him great success with them, and he'll be close by, so hopefully we'll be able to see him have a lot of success.
Again, he was an offensive lineman at Carolina from 01 to 05, and actually spent a year after that as a GA on the Tar Heels staff, where he got his start in the coaching ranks. So again, congratulations and best of luck to former Tar Heel Arthur Smith. Adam, let's go from football to basketball, and I guess this was big news announced earlier this week by the NCAA as far as the schedule for the NCAA tournament. There are some couple of changes, including that first weekend starting on a Friday instead of a Thursday, but pretty basic stuff there.
The first four will be later. It's usually Monday and Tuesday or Tuesday and Wednesday. This year it's Thursday. Of course, all those games in the state of Indiana, kind of in the Indianapolis area. But really, I think everybody will be glad. Doesn't matter what day they are, as long as we get to have the NCAA basketball tournament. I know that's how the NCAA feels. Then everybody will be perfectly happy.
And we need the Tar Heels there.
Well, yeah. It's
Right.
not an NCAA tournament if the
Doesn't
Tar Heels
matter.
aren't there.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Speaking of the Tar Heels, Adam, on the audio version of the podcast, man, we've been hot and heavy into trading cards lately when it comes to Carolina. And it started with, we were sent here by Daniel Potter, some of these old Coca-Cola Carolina basketball trading cards. There's some football mixed in there too, but I think this was mostly basketball. And it's amazing how many different people had experiences with these cards. There you see some more, including Michael Jordan. I had some of these. Everybody, you have the whole set.
Got the unopened pack on that one right there in the right-hand corner of that first slide. Yeah, and basketball, football, you had administrators. There was a vintage John Swofford picture in there. Some buildings. I think there's like a
Carmichael's got one.
Auditorium card. The Smith Center. I like how you said we've been hot and heavy into trading cards lately. Hey, some of us have been there all along.
See, that's how you get to this high place in life, you did, with your trading cards. You said, Adam, you think that this was all the triangles, or at least NC State had these too at one point, right?
I am fairly confident there's such a thing as NC State Coca-Cola trading cards from this same era. I can't remember if there was Duke or not. I think this was pre-Duke being a thing or anyone caring about them. But dig through your dresser drawers and see if you can find any Chris Washburn NC State Wolfpack cards. If you trade us 8 of those, we'll give you 1/3 of a Phil Ford card.
We'll give you a Carmichael Auditorium card for that.
Maybe.
Adam, so from the Coke trading cards to something I have never seen before, a deck of playing cards that were Carolina basketball playing cards. I've never seen these before. There you see Dean Smith, the ace of spades. Of course, Larry Miller, former pod guest, the queen of clubs. There's George Karl in a very familiar looking turtleneck as the king of hearts, which I'm sure was a hotly contested card. I've never seen these before.
There's so much happening in just even this small sample of the playing cards. Look at the box. It's got the old Ram logo. He's got his snarl and he's dribbling the ball up the court. George Karl evidently wore that turtleneck for all his photo shoots. He left the Old Well Media Guide shoot and went straight to the playing card shoot. Larry Miller is completely exhausted and disgusted by this trophy that he's holding, and Dean Smith, as usual, is in charge.
Looking classy, yeah.
But we were sent the whole set of these cards, as you see there, and just a great set. But I've never seen them before in my entire life until they were brought up on the pod.
So Dennis Goss is the pod listener who sent us this. He said that the cards range from the 1940s to the oldest, or was 1977 was the last time that a player was involved. So that must have been when the era that they were working with. So what a find.
The Joker was the Old Well and the Bell Tower. When we reissue these cards, that'll be Theo Pinson.
Let's go from there, Adam, to some more recent Tar Heel history, although not that recent. We go back to the mid-1990s and Vince Carter. Now, somebody at the ACC, a marketing genius at the ACC, deemed this month, Adam, not January, but Jamuary. And if there's one Tar Heel who can throw down some jams, it's Vince Carter. Let's take a look and listen here.
Carter! Oh, no. Oh, no. 3/4 court from Shaman. 19 for Vince.
So that one came in the Smith Center against Florida State. Here, one more look at a half-court alley-oop, not bad. Next, we get a little flying tomahawk. Charlotte, Adam, against Virginia Tech, I guess?
I definitely think that's the old Charlotte Coliseum.
And
That's
that was,
Greensboro.
yeah, that was Greensboro against Clemson in the ACC tournament. Unfortunately, that dunk doesn't get as much love as it really should because it was nasty because of the result of that game. That's an all-timer there on that play, and a play that the Tar Heels still run to this day. Now, maybe not with Vince Carter on the receiving end.
Well, and when you see it from a certain angle, you can see just how high his head gets relative to the rim and the backboard. It's incredible how high up he is. Did you ever, when you were playing in the rec league games, and you would like put in a sweet layup or bank shot, did you ever try to celebrate like Vince Carter? I think I probably did. Well, yeah, but like he always had the coolest responses. Like sometimes he'd give you the loosey-goosey run down the court, and sometimes he'd give you the head shake.
You can only do that if you're completing a half-court alley-oop, which I did a couple times in the rec league.
I did that a couple times on the 6-foot goal in the playroom.
Let's go from there to Adam. Maybe I think the first time ever we've had Tiger Woods here on the Social Drive. We found this out there in social media land. Look at this. This is Tiger, very young Tiger, doing an interview sporting a Tar Heels hat.
Old school Tar Heel hat. This came up because he was wearing this hat in the HBO documentary Tiger that has run over the last couple weeks. It's 2 parts. And in one of them, they've got the throwback footage, and he's putting wearing that same exact hat. So obviously, near and dear to his heart. And then for some reason, he decided to go elsewhere. Apparently, though, Carolina Golf did recruit Tiger. They did not get him.
Yeah, that was a smart recruiting play, though, to try to get that to happen. All right, Adam, we close with a bang here as we were sent this picture of this magnificent van, which is airbrushed with Roadhouse. And if you're a pod listener, you know the importance of Roadhouse. Look at that thing, Adam. Where do you park it? And you
wherever you want.
No, where do you have it, Adam? Is it in your driveway?
It's out back behind the Smith Center. Well, and this is the way to determine who does and doesn't listen to the pod. We now know some of the Carolina Insider production folks may not listen to the pod, as we found out from their reaction to this van. But look at the other side. I mean, the A side is good, but the B side, the hair's blowing in the breeze, the stars are out. That's incredible work.
Double deuce. What a van.
I'd like to drive that van to the state fair and buy an elephant ear.
Thank you, Cameron, for bringing that to our attention here on the Carolina Insider. What a way to close it. We'll be back next week. A lot more to do. Thanks so much for joining us, as always, here on the Carolina Insider.
See you later, Big Grit.